Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the technical trader at the techtrader.com. It's Saturday, 9:30. It's September 30th. This is the weekend webinar and an eventful week, as we've been saying. There's very many eventful weeks of late. Seasonality-wise, the market has always had a tough, or normally it has a tough September. And you can see what's witnessed by the S&P 500 just in September alone. We've come down from about 45.40 to as low as 42.38. So 300 points just in September alone, about an 8% drop on the S&P, and Nasdaq is even closer to 10%. But so we've had a pretty good decline, and coming off the big annual 52-week rally we've had off the October low of last year. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and this could be a big fifth. So this is a 1, 2, 3 wave corrective, and it could be a topping pattern because after 5 waves we may see a much deeper retrace, as you know. Now, we are near the trend line. This is the major trend line going back. And so with lateral price support and a trend line support, we got a little bounce, but the bounce doesn't really take hold and we take these lows out, we could get a plunge all the way down to 4,000. We have a double bottom around 40, let's call it 40.50 in that area. We're talking 230 points lower. That's another 5% down. Now, I don't know if we do that. But I will say that there is a potential for the market to bounce back up and at least test that gap, 43.75. If we get through that, we're looking at 44.5 and 45.5, all conjecture. Nasdaq 100 also similar configuration, base breakout, a long run up, and now consolidation. Now, some people that I know call this a 1, 2, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave 3, and this is 4. So there's a possibility we see higher highs, but any break down below this week's low, say under 14.4, 14.420, could lead to a much deeper decline. Taking out 14.1 and then all the way down to 14.7, 13.7 is still a possibility if we crack. Transportation has been weaker for a while, and you can see it's been in a downtrend since July. The tranny has gone from 16,700 and change to a low of 14.7. So 2,000 points down in about 60 days in the transportation index. It's about a 12% decline. So transportation is much worse than either Nasdaq or the S&P. What about small caps? No picnic. They've dropped from almost 200. Let's see. The July high, 198.75 to 174.29. So 24.5 points. Also, about it's like about 12%. So, you know, we've gotten decent small caps. Transportation have dropped much more than even the Nasdaq 100. Most people aren't aware of that. And take a look at the 3-wave corrective 1, 2, 3. That's come to a major 4-point rising bottom line. So the fact that we're bouncing is not a surprise. Can he get above 180 with energy? And then you're looking at 184, 187 and above. But for now, one step at a time. The bearish reversal bar in the small caps on Friday was pretty disheartening because we ran back to a broken neckline of a possible head and shoulder pattern here. And now we may be headed lower even to the April-May lows. Now they're 169. So vulnerable small caps still. Looking at the oscillators, we're looking at a pretty volatile market where the market was up to 120 in August, dropped down to minus 161, and then bounced to plus 50 on Friday. Friday was actually 50. 45 was the highest level we reached in about 4 weeks. And then the big reversal. So that was disappointing. And Friday was a negative day, in my opinion, based on that alone. The VIX perked up but pulled right back. You can see the move that it took from a low of 1268 to a high just under 20. And now the pullback to 1583 before the bounce to 1752. So there's a lot of volatility in the VIX, the UVXY, etc., UVIX. we'll track that a little later, but I just wanted to show you the oscillator. The percentage of stocks above their 40-day moving average is only about a quarter. So 3 out of 4 stocks are below their 40. And we have work to do. Now, it did reach a level of under 20 in 1980 some odd, which is the lowest level since last March. About a 7-month low. So we'll just have to see what that means. But the fact that it cracked this pattern with a gap and now it's bounced back in a bear wedge move tells me there may be more downside. And if the market does plunge or crack, we're going to find out soon. And if it does that, this may get down into that 12, 14 zone. We haven't reached panic yet in the VIX, which we just showed you. And so when that gets up here, and when the oscillator gets down there, that's where I would be much more inclined to be jumping into the market with 2 fists. For now, we're going to day trade them. You have swing trades, some of which are working great, some of which have been stopped out quickly, and that's the purpose of stops in a volatile market. You want to make sure you adhere to those stops. Okay, I'll look at some of the components. And they don't look great, that's for sure. Look at Apple. Apple's dropped just since the beginning of the month. About 190 to 167.62. Well, he dropped 22, 23 points on Apple in a month. That's substantial, similar to what it did here. So we've had a 1, 2, and this is 3. How far can 3 go? Well, the line says down towards 160, but the parallel line is a little bit more like this. So there's some room to drop it towards 163.4, but in particular, if we take Friday's high out, that would be very constructive for the market. Watch Apple if early next week we get over 173 and surge to 176.7, which is your next target. On the other hand, if it consolidates or if it continues to plunge, something closer to 163 or even 158.60 wouldn't be a surprise to me. They're not in good shape. And those are, the Nasdaq generals are leading the market lower. Look at Amazon, for example. Since January, it's been in a beautiful rising channel. It broke right there. Breakaway gap. Down towards support, below it. It bounced off the pullback low here. They're 120.63. Below being 123. So a little bit higher than that. But the key resistance is right there at that gap at 132.25. So if we get up through that, fill the gap, maybe. But for now, there's still a vulnerability that if Amazon, which has already broken the channel, continues lower, we might test the May pullback lows. And I have 113.14 as your target. That's a big drop from here. Google, which was acting great for months, finally broke down, snapped back, but I'm concerned with that engulfing reversal. Look how it filled this gap right there. Fell right at that fill, pull back. In my opinion, it's dangerous. And move below this pattern. And let's say it might be a bear wedge. And if that's what it is, it could come down and plunge, especially if it gets below 126.7, we might see something down in the 118.19 range, fast. So that's what I'm worried about, a break, a fast break, a plunge type of move. I'm not saying a crash, mini crash maybe, and I'm not saying I'm looking for it, I'm saying that's a distinct possibility based on what I'm seeing now. Microsoft, no different, long uptrend, left shoulder ahead, a weak right shoulder, rising wedge, rollover. There is some support in this range, but quite frankly, Microsoft's vulnerable to 300 and 290.91. Especially if this is the ongoing controlling type declining channel, the bottom of which looks like around 300. 15 points. NVIDIA, which was a monster for a long time, certainly broke its channel going back a year. came down to support and bounced. Looked like it was breaking out of the down channel, and still might be, or forming one big bear flag in here. And we have to adjust our channel to look like this now. And as a result, if that is a bear flag, the downside targets would be 404, 388, and 375. That does not make me feel good. Technically, that's a bear flag. Netflix hasn't been acting well. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder breakdown below the trend line, below lateral price support. Near that level, and even below that. Right now, you're vulnerable to, believe it or not, I think Netflix has a chance of seeing 355, 356 range. So another 20 points down. Again, if all of these stocks start caving, this is where that might go. One of the strongest stocks has been Meta, which had a beautiful 2-week high on Friday, but it reached that declining top line and backed away, finishing negatively on the day. A couple of layers of support below here, but quite frankly, the vulnerability is 275, 25 points. And finally, Tesla, which is in a declining configuration after breaking support and the moving averages here, rallied back to resistance. Near those moving averages, see how they're crossing over? Very vulnerable to downside movement in the 215-20 range, in my opinion, especially if it cracks under 237, 236. So there's a look at the Nasdaq generals, and it's not pretty. One of the reasons I'm concerned about the market. But leadership may be coming from other areas. I noticed that uranium, coal, and metals, much better, except for gold and silver. Even natural gas has moved up. I'll show you those charts a little bit. Let's look at the ETFs that we found for the main groups, such as semiconductors. Again, a similar pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 waves up, with this being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double topping, coming down to test and bounce. What formed on the SMH, that would be a rising wedge, a rising bear wedge at that. Once the stock cracks and forms those patterns, once it comes down and breaks, you can see the breakdown, the snapback. However, declining tops and bottoms right now and trendline breaks have even SMH vulnerable to a drop down into 135.37 zone. 8 to 10 points lower. What that would do to the market, right? Financials have been terrible all year. Look at this. With interest rates rising, they haven't gone anywhere. Since February, when it was 95, it eventually dropped down to 50. Actually double bottomed in the 50 range. Bounced back up to 74 before rolling back over again. You see it's right on support here. You see also the vulnerability of this. We cracked this zone and looking for 54 and 50. So not a bullish configuration at all for financials or semiconductors. And biotechs are no picnic either. Here's the XBI. Take a look at this. We have 1-year lows in this range. The lowest level of XBI in a year, tagged last week at 71.59. Low here, 72 and change. This pullback low, 72 and change. So this is the lowest level we've seen in 15 months for biotechs. They have had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline near support. So that's the one area that I'm looking for some relief. If we don't get it, we're going to crack fast and furious. So I'm just concerned about leading groups not looking good, leading Nasdaq generals not looking good, and the market in what I would consider vulnerable shape. Let's look at some of the other ETFs. As you know, oil's been going crazy, but a little bit of a pullback last week. Almost an island reversal right there. Key support for the USO and for oil, in my opinion, we go under 80, 79.5, 80. This could drop into the high 70s, mid 70s for a 1, 2, 3 wave 4 pullback. Nat gas, well, it's coming. It firmed up near 3, so we had cold, which is ultra short, come down, but not much, not like you would think. So we're watching natural gas carefully as well as oil. Gold, I keep telling you this, folks, and I've been telling you this all year. There's no reason to be long gold. Now, different story, because it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline, and it's to a key 1 year support level. We crack here, you might see the GDX, for example, at 23, and the JNUG drop down into the 22 range as well. So although they're oversold, they're at the bottom of the channels, I just don't see it. Same thing with silver. Nasty bar on Friday. So I'm avoiding precious metals altogether. So that covers what I wanted to cover on ETFs for group ETFs. Let's go to the charts. We have a good amount of stocks, long and short. We'll start off with AAOI, which we did great on here and here. Came down, looked like a bear flag, but it bounced. Now that Friday reversal near key resistance, not good. Unless it quickly recovers over 1190 with energy. This is vulnerable. I would be careful with AAOI. ACMR. That's a beautiful rising long-term channel. It's taking it from 5 and change to 20. Pull back. Now it's bouncing again. Key support 15. Resistance 20. Target 22, 25. AEHR. Bounced nicely off the trend channel, but I'm not convinced that this isn't a bear flag. So anyone that loves AEHR, if it doesn't get back above 48 quickly, it's vulnerable to a drop into the low 40s and even high 30s. Firm broke out, ran up nicely, and pulled back before bouncing. There's a gap right there, so that's resistance. Your targets are 26 and 30. AMRX, beautiful run up from buck and change all the way to almost 5. That spike up ended the rally for a while, but look at the way it's consolidating. Breakout over 4 3/4, 4.5. Yeah, over 450, 55 could get this to 6 and 7. ANF, remarkable of this retailer, Abercrombie and Fitch, has gone from 15 to 57. In the last year, and it's above key resistance. As a matter of fact, it's the highest level in 10 years. Institutional clients of mine love the story here. I think it's going higher. Certainly is a nice looking chart. If we get through here, my projections are mid 60s. APP, in the midst of a lousy market, look at this move from January, when it bottomed around 9. It's run to the high 40s or mid 40s, 44.89. It's pulled back but held support. That's my stop though. I don't want this under 37. It targets at 46.53. AUGX, nice looking health services company. Breakaway gap and wedge, and then a rising channel. Notice the multiple tops in here. If you get through 5 3/4, the targets are 6.5 and 7.5. BRBR, what a wonderful consumer products packaged goods company Bell Brands is. Look at this rising channel. After months of consolidating, it broke out again in August. And it's since then run from mid 30s to low 40s, and now it's flagging. That's a good chart. Considering the market, this has done fabulous. Where's your target? Mid-range 45, upper range 50. BTU, coal stocks are awakening, folks. After 6 months of downtrend and a long 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline, we got a V bottom of the platform, which now is broken out. Extension targets to 28, 30, and 33. CAMT, unbelievable. Fabulous chart. Exploded, broke out in June in the 30s, and it's doubled with a spike high on Friday, taking it to 68 before a pullback to 62. So 6-point reversal, maybe a topping of that pattern. We got to be careful that there's no downside follow through. This is a current tech trader swing, but it may be vulnerable to a retrace, especially if the market does. Right now, your key support, 55. Target, 73. CBay, nice little junior biotech. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up. May have peaked up here, but it didn't reach the top of the channel. And the way I look at it, there's still room to go into the low 20s, but it has to hold 13 3/4, 14. That's your key support now. CCJ, as you know, uranium stock's solid, but Friday took a little hit. This one was down $1.53 or 3.5%. So it's retesting, but it's in a beautiful rising configuration. I got a $45 target. Swing trade CDLX. I love this inverse head and shoulder breakout, pullback retest. Pop flag, pop wedge. Still holding, but I would have to stop this one under 13.5. Targets are 19, 22, and 25. Seco Environmental. Big run up, pullback. That's a long move from 4 to 16 and quadrupled. Pullback, coil, pop, pullback and flag, popped again. It's got a micro flag, looking very good here. 18.5, 3/4, and 22 are targets. Check. Long downtrend. This is actually a reverse split. At least I believe it is. And I have a target of $6. Nice rising channel. 5 1/4 and 6 are targets. CLS, beautiful long-term pattern. Ramp up, breakaway, wedge, pop, retest the channel. I really think this has momentum enough to take this one into the high 20s. COUR Core, Educational Training Services Group. Nice base and breaking out. Looking for 22.3. Kinetics, big breakaway gap and a beautiful coil in here or flag. We need to get 31 taken out. Yeah, that happens. 34 and 37 are targets. Carvana, well, it's had a wonderful run since May when it was trading at 7, getting it all the way up into the high 50s. And then pulling back and bouncing again into the high 50s before backing off. You do not want this below here. Critical key support. If Carvana takes out 36.5, you better be gone. If it manages to spike up. Resistance to 45. Then your targets are 50 and 54. Electronics, what a wonderful rising channel this is. With a target of 12. Ideally holds right there. And that wedge breaks out. DBRG, current tech trader swing. Because at the time we put it out, it broke out there, but it pulled right back to test support and bounced again. So retesting 18 1/4, 35 is imperative, and then 20 and 22 are targets. Dell Computers, fabulous earnings report, exploded it, ran up and now coiling. This looks like a potential tech trader swing into the 70, I would say mid 70s. DHI, that's on the short side. DKNG, we've been long since it popped in May. It's gone from 1920 zone up into the low mid 30s. It's coiling in here. This is what I'm seeing. Needs to pop over 32.5, 3/4, and then you're looking at 35.6 and 40. Duolingo breaks through a triple top on Friday and backs off. Very popular institutional stock with a strong rising channel. I got a target of 200 plus over the next few weeks, market permitting. EH, Chinese aerospace, with a beautiful 1, 2, 3, wave 4 is underway. 5th wave takes you to 30. That's right, 30 with the first target of 23.4. Energy Transfer, love this oil stock, and I think it goes higher. 15 and 18 are targets. Big move on this week on FEMY, which went from literally 30 cents to 362, or about 12-fold. It's overbought, but it has momentum. It still may see some higher levels at 4.5, but be careful. finger. Love the way this has been acting. As you know, it's been a triple swing for us. At this point, I'm looking for 8 and 9.5. Geo popped out. I put a swing on it 2 days ago. A little inside day, and then it popped again Friday. I like the look of this. Targeting 9, 11, excuse me, 9, 10, and 11. Getty, nice basis for me. And I like the run up in the last month, taking it from 365, doubling to 732, and then the pullback. But I like this pattern in that I think it's going to test the 8.25 range short term, especially if it doesn't break down under here. If it holds 580, it may be good to go. Keep that on your radar. Groupon, how about the pop this week? Rumors about a takeover. It's gone from 11.25 to 15.75, coming out of a coil, targeting 17 and 22. Hudson, been on the list for many moons. After coming back from virtually pennies, 33 cents in 2019. That's 4 years ago. But it's now as high as 13.80. And that's a breakout. I think this could extend to the mid-teens. In the oil sector, Helix also breaking out. Not quite all-time highs, but looking at 7-year highs with a big inverse pattern that could take you to the high teens. HNRG in the coal sector, fabulous chart and breaking out. My target is 22. HNRG, possible swing in the coal sector. HRTG, a insurance company with a fabulous chart. I'm now targeting 7.5, 8.5, and 10. IDYA, one of our long-term plays, popped, wedge, pop, wedge, pop, and then a 5-way move and a pullback. Oh, it's a 1, 2. This is 3 and 4. We're going to retarget 30 and then 33, 34. IMGN exploded in May. Flag, we had a swing on it, went all the way up to 20 and change and pulled back. Now it's coiling. What you're going to need in this one is a move above 16.75 with energy. Your stop would be on the 13.75. Your target would be 19.20. IMBT, which is one of my top picks of the year back in December, already tripled and exploded on some positive news earlier this week. Followed through and then reversed, got up to 44. Friday's low pullback was 38 range, so not too bad. I would look for more upside. I think it's going to channel up into the mid-high 40s. IONQ, nice rising pattern, double top, reversed, came down to support and bounced, but it doesn't get through here. If it doesn't, you may want to consider shorting this one, but I would wait. LFMD, fabulous chart, swing trade, breakout, and it's running every day. It's been up for 6 days in a row. Take 405 to 626, about a 50% pop in a week. My target now is 7 and 9. LI in a major rising channel, but it broke the coil to the downside. Now it has this falling channel configuration. Now this has dropped back from 47 to 33. That's your stopping point under 33. Your target's 38.9, 43.4. LMB, well, what a great looking chart. 5 to 38 in a year, unbelievable. And it pulled back down to test the gap and price support and channel. This is key. If it holds here, 45 is your target. No kidding, it's gonna be a nice swing. Target's 38 and 45. LPG in the oil sector, phenomenal chart with a $34 target. LW, that's on my short list. Lights, popped out, flagged, or falling wedge, and popped out as retesting. Should it get through here, right where the resistance is, 18-19 zone is my target. In the coal sector, METC broke a long declining pattern and ran up to resistance last week. Next target, 13. MIRM, nice rising channel, popped out above a double top and pulled back to test it. Extension target, 36. MLTX, expensive stock. Well, not expensive, but it went from 5 to 68 in a little more than a year. And now look at that flag. Should it break out? 75 and 90 are targets. MNSO, love this chart. Breakaway gap wedge. We had a swing on it. This has worked out phenomenal if you held it. At this point, though, we're looking at rising channel type target. First a retest of 29.30 and then mid 30s. And then broke out massive base pattern. Wedge popped and it's got another wedge. There's one more leg coming. That could take it to 7, even 8. Keep an eye on this one for a trade. Nutanix, love that one. Broke out, pulled back and tested, pop, pull back again. I still think it breaks out eventually above 36.7 and moves to 39.40. In the oil sector, OII, Oceaneering, big move of late. Nice pullback. Retesting, support 23.5, target 28.5 and 30. Paymentus, pop wedge and rising channel. Extension target 18.5. And Duo in the Chinese sector, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up and a wedge. Breaking out Friday, may have some more upside. Next target, 106. PFIE, now that's a strong move for a low price stock. $1 to 3 and a wedge. Easy to stop under 250, 55, over 325, 4, 4.5. Pharvaris in the biotech sector popped out, rising channel, now coiling. Your targets are 29 and 38. Palantir looked like a head and shoulders, but it popped sharply this week. I want to see it take out Friday's high. It does above 1680. 18 and 20 are targets for starters. POWL exploded and pulled back. We put a swing on it and then popped and pulled back again and extended the coil. Looks like it's trying to break out. It got up to 88.5 on Friday and backed off to 83 and change, but still in the confines of a bullish flag type pattern, long-term uptrend. The eventual target potential, 115.20 zone. Quanterix breaks out of a base, retests, and starts a rising channel. I like the way this looks, 30 and 35 targets. Remedy Global, beautiful rising channel, continuing to look good, continuing to rise. Next target, 29. Rev Group, pop platform, broke out, pressing resistance. Take a look at that. Targeting 18.21. The oil sector rig popped out and coiled for months, then popped out again, and now it's flagging. I think this gets to 10, 11, 12. Rivian, a great swing for us from here to there, and then it came down. Popped again and retested, maybe ready for prime time. It's been up 5 days in a row doing a lousy week. I mean, anything through 24.65, the target's 28 to 33. Ray-Ban had a tough couple days end last week, but a great looking chart longer term. Easy stop now under here. Under 10, you're out. Rover with a nice base breakout and platform. Flag, target 9 if it goes, but it's got to take 7 out. The Sprout Farmer Market, SFM, beautiful rising channel, and getting near the top of that channel, but near all-time highs. Extension targets 45. SLNO, well, we saw the big pop on Wednesday, we traded it. But since then, it's been holding so beautifully and actually closed near the high for the week. I'd have to say this could be 40, 45, and 50. Stay tuned. SOFI, is that a head and shoulders top? Well, the neckline caused the bounce. That looked like a bear flag. So this is going to have to work to get up to 9.25. The targets are 9, 10, and 11 and 3/4 if it does go. Last week's low would be a stopping point under 7.35. SSYS, I believe, is a takeover candidate. I'm convinced of it. I think it's cheap down here. I think you're going to see stock in the high teens to low 20s on a takeover. TAL breaking out. This Chinese educational stock's been acting great of late. targeting 9 3/4 and 10.5. Restaurant chain TAST breaks out of a base, runs up to resistance, forms a rising wedge and pops out, and then pulls back to retest. On support, targeting 9. Thread up, low price puppy that's been channeling up nicely. Near resistance here. Any breakout gets me to 5.5. Chinese asset manager Tiger popped out, retested, exploded, and flagged, and now popped out again, but did pull back. Gets to 580, I would look for 7. TNGX exploded, wedged, and popped. Now is at the highest level in a couple of years, with an extension target at 15. The SAT, beautiful base breakaway gap and a sharp run up to resistance. Totally retrace now near support. It did bounce Friday, but didn't hold. But your target's 17 3/4 and 21 if it does go. Tasha, breakaway gap, wedge. I think we put a swing on it. Then we had a beautiful run, and now look at that coil. Next target, 5. TTI, pop here, coil, pop, flag, and popping again. Extension target 7, 7.25. Uber has been consolidating since July, and I like the look of this coil. If it breaks out over 49, 9.5, 54, and 58, 60 are targets. Ultra battery, ULBI, Ultra Life, ULBI pop, pull back. We put a swing on it. It's gone from 7.25 to about 10 3/4. It's consolidating now for a month. My next target is 11 3/4 and 12.5. One of the other uranium stocks at resistance or above, targeting 11. VIRC broke out and exploded the last 2 weeks. It's gone vertically from 4.25 30 to 8 change, 150%. Oh, no, about 100%, right? And it's overdone. Short term, but it's got great momentum. Watch for a better setup. VIST in the oil sector. How about this chart? 2 to 32, 16-fold, and it doesn't look done yet. Just breaking out. VRT. What a run from April lows when it was 12 into the low 40s, but it's flagging. Doesn't look done to me. Mid to high 40s is your target. VST, another utility, breaks out of a base, flag, pop flag. Negative day on Friday. That could have been a golfing bar, but we'll see if there's a downside follow through or not. WVE, wave, tech trader swing, looking at 7.25 and 9. Weight Watchers, a couple 3/4 thrusts up towards 12.5. I'm waiting for it to break out above that. Then you're looking at 15 and 17. The downside support 885, and then U.S. Steel with a pop and coil. This is a takeover candidate. I think it's likely it gets done between 36 and 38. We'll see. XPEV, Chinese automotive, had a beautiful 5-way move there. We had a swing on it when it broke out here. Right now, it looks like it's breaking out of this coil. If it does, first target is 20. XPO Logistics popped big time Thursday and is right at resistance here with a beautiful long-term chart and a target at 90. And that's it on the long side. We got some shorts to cover and we can finish up here. AMPH came down, spiked down through the moving averages, formed a bear coil and broke down. Now it's forming a bear flag. Might be one more leg down. My target's 40 and 35. AN came down hard and been flagging for 2 months. If it cracks here, I'd be looking for a move probably into the mid 130s and maybe 122. BLDR could be rolling over. Massive long-term move. Bear flag forming, targeting 114.15 and 99 to 100. BMEA has been on my short list since it cracked and formed the bear flag at 23, eventually now 13, target 910. CPA breaks a long-term rising channel and snaps back, fails right there. That's the kiss back. It's a 1, 2, 3 now, so there's some support here. But at some point, a setup that does not take out 94 could roll over and get down into the mid 70s. Crocs has been a tech trader swing since it broke down and formed the bear coil. Dropped again and formed another one. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth wave is taking it to the third target near 84.5. It did bounce last week. On some short covering, it looked like. I don't think it's done on the downside yet, but be careful and make sure you have close stop on this one. DHI in the building sector, obviously builders have suffered of late. I think new home sales were down like 8 or 9%. Interest rates rising. This cracks here, 95 target. Big sporting goods, slam dunked and a big bear wedge. It came down and bounced at the apex. Doesn't look very good to me, folks. We crack here, probably 98 and 90 are targets. DOX breaks down, forms a wedge, and it's a bear wedge, and then rolls over. And Friday was an ugly day for it. My eventual target, 78.9. Dynatrace broke down from the bear coil right here, and it's on the verge. If this has any movement under, say, 45 and a quarter, it could get hammered into the mid to high 30s. The XCM, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. We caught that one perfectly there. Obviously, you always cover after 5 waves down to support. Now the bounce. Well, I got from 85.30 to Friday's high at 97.58, a 12-point bounce right to the declining tops line. And it appears to fail there because it backed off. FIBE with a big rally last week to resistance with a massive top on it. Tells me if it fails here, it could come down. Be careful though, too much good volume on the upside. FOUR, topping pattern breaking the channel and now forming a bear flag. 43 target. GRBK, another builder under the trend line with a bear flag. It just looks like it's going to keep dropping. Next target on that one, well, 35. HCA, head and shoulder top breakdown, barely bounced and got down to support. If it bounces here, fine. You're short about 255. If it breaks that, 225 is your target. HOLX, head and shoulder top, breakdown bear flag, another breakdown to the target at 68. Any lower, or you might see low to mid 60s. INTA, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down apparently, but I'm going to change the angle to look like this. This is still in the downtrend, although it had a nice week. Underlying technicals below that, I think we go lower. INTT breaks down bear flag, breakdown bear flag, and another drift lower. More to go. 12 3/4 target. KB Homes, another head and shoulder top breakdown, a little mini flag, targeting 43.38. Las Vegas, head and shoulder top, a breakdown and a bear flag. We showed you that a week and a half ago. It broke that. It dropped 49 to 44, and right now it's vulnerable to 41.2. LW with a long uptrend finally broke down from the bear flag. We noted that. Went short, dropped down from the rising bear flag, dropped down again, and then a big snapback off support as it filled that gap. Doesn't mean it's done yet. For me, here's your rising channel. Don't think it gets past 98, 99. That's where you can stop it. Under 91, probably vulnerable to 85.6. Just added NICE. Look at this long decline. Massive consolidation and broken. Any movement or snapback towards 180, give or take a point, would be a place to short it for a move down to what I think could be 145. OMC, massive top breakdown, barely bounces and makes a run at the first target. Second target, 63. Impinge, broke down, rising flag. We put a take trader short swing on it, I believe at around 97. It made it up to 109. It just got beneath my target cover. And then dropped down bear flag, dropped down bear wedge, and dropped down, and now it's flagging again. It looked terrible. Target 40, 41. Race may be rolling over below support. Rally back to resistance and reversed. Well, careful on this one. Target 258. RDNT, head and shoulder top breakdown, snap back to resistance. Might be failing. Very, very bad technicals. I'll target 25.6 and 23. Rambus broke down hard and rallied in the bear flag, and then is losing some steam and momentum and technicals are turning negative. Be careful with that one. Targeting 49, 43, and 41. SDGR, well, finally had a couple updates after 3 weeks of decline. But this one from the bear flag right in here. And actually, when it broke down and formed the mini bear wedge, where I said take trader swing short. Next target might be 22. SMCI had a fabulous recovery week. We got short on it in the 280-85 range, it dropped down to 228. What a bounce. 283 was tagged on Friday. Can't let it get much above that. If it fails here, fine, but a little bit too strong for my good. SYM, long running pattern, breaks down, forms a bear flag. That's when I got interested short. 40 to 29.90. And now maybe moving out of the falling wedge. We'll have to just see what happens with this one. It's a lot of resistance here. Next target, 28 and 23. Technoglass, well, it was one of my longs, and now it's one of my shorts. And a breakthrough here. And we're headed to 26. TMBX, long trend, up, breakdown flag, breakdown mini wedge, breakdown and pop. Just sure looks like it wants to go lower. 45 and 38.9 are targets. Ulta, big drop, pop, right to resistance, fill the gap, rolled over, and you can see that after forming a little mini wedge there, I put out a tech-traded swing short. I think it was about 410. It dropped down this week to 388 and bounced a little bit, but my targets remain 380 and 365. And folks, that's an exhaustive look. All the longs, the shorts, the technicals, the indices, the market leaders, etc. So I have a lot to review and get yourself prepared for next week. I mentioned 3 or 4 stocks I thought might be good swings that are not current swings. You can review the video for that information. And always, if you have any questions to anything you heard today, send me a private message or post in the room, and I will be glad to answer you. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. This is HP signing off. Take it easy.